not many people were able to back him down. He stood very still, and he was more physical than a lot of power forwards. Yeah, he was slow, so players could get around him.
There were certain things he's still good at, but you can say the same thing about anyone that's still in the league, I think. And it doesn't make it not a bad contract.
And I mean, he's also, like I said, I'm not trying to defend him as much as it sounds like I am. He's also one of the guys who's willing to go toe-to-toe with Draymond Green. He's not afraid of Draymond. Not at all. So, I mean, there's that. But the question that I had for Dan is, if this deal doesn't get done, which I'm going to go out on a limb and say it doesn't, Kyrie stays in stays in Cleveland a little bit longer at least, and Isaiah Thomas and Crowder stay in Boston for a little bit more at least. Since Crowder and Isaiah Thomas weren't expecting to be traded, did you just kill that relationship by throwing them on the block? What happens if the Cavaliers are like, no deal, we're done, this whole trade talk is done? Do you then have to find a different trade for Crowder and Thomas because you just screwed that up?
I think so.
I don't know necessarily. I don't know how personally players take this kind of stuff. At the end of the day, you do have to recognize that it's a business, and they're trying to do whatever they can. And if they don't think you're the exact right fit, then whatever. You can take it to heart, and some people do. So I think that's just a conversation that you have to have with them. Maybe you do have to trade them, but you certainly don't let the league know that. And hopefully you can still have a good enough relationship where you say, hey, we get you're unhappy, we will look to trade you, but let's try and keep your value there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, in all honesty, if you're a team like let's see, the Clippers, we'll go with the Clippers, who are they're going to be a playoff team even without Chris Paul. I'm pretty sure. Do you think getting the points from Isaiah Thomas could make you, rival the Rockets, the Spurs, and maybe, I'm not saying actually rival the Warriors, but put you in a better position to have a decent series against the Warriors?
Yeah, but what do they have to give up to get him? Do they have the assets to get him? I guess it would be dependent on... I
mean, they just got a whole crap ton of stuff from the Rockets.
Right.
They got Patrick Beverley. They've got, they still got DeAndre Jordan, who's getting older. They still got Blake Griffin, who's not as good as he was. So, and obviously, they were willing to let Blake walk.
Yeah, I would think he's on the block.
I mean, they just signed him to a big contract because they decided to go with him over Chris Paul, who really wanted to leave.
Yeah.
And they realized they could get stuff back for him and they couldn't for Blake Griffin. I think if they had to choose between a Blake Griffin who wants to be there and a Chris Paul who wants to be there, they would choose Chris Paul over Blake Griffin.
Yeah.
He makes their entire offense run.
He's Blake is a highlight reel, but he's still somewhat one-dimensional in his physicality.
His physicality has gone down, and you need that to be a power forward or a center,
especially the way he plays. He's not much of a finesse guy. He's a power move guy, and
right. Whereas
his athleticism, as soon as that starts declining, his whole play is going to start declining, and maybe we're seeing that now. Maybe it was an off season.
I don't think so. I don't think it's an off season. I think it's just
the decline is starting.
Yeah, he's a bigger guy.
How old is he?
I can look it up.
He was young still. I thought he was 27.
Well, even if he was only 27, he's been playing for a while.
Yeah, but he shouldn't start to break down yet, I would think. Well, to be fair, though, big guys, do tend to have more knee injuries.
I mean, he's also, besides Dwight Howard, the closest thing to a center in the NBA.
Well, they've got DeAndre still.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, they do have DeAndre Jordan. I did just mention him. But let's see. He was drafted in the 2009 NBA draft. He is 28. Yeah, so he's still young in terms of that.
Yeah.
But his body doesn't look it. I mean, look at how the big. I know Yao Ming to him is a vast difference based on height and size of the body. Yao Ming was like a frail looking big guy, but big guys' knees. Not everyone is Shaq.
Yeah.
Shaq held up well.
Yeah, Shaq had longevity that you would never expect from a guy that big, but yeah, I think this season is really going to answer that question. If he's not back to where he was, then I think you're right. Then he's certainly, on a downward track, and that might be bad for the Clippers because how long was his extension? 4 years?
Yeah.
So, hopefully, if it does turn out that it wasn't a single season thing, that the decline is slow, because then they might be looking like the Noah contract or something if it's a rapid decline.
I don't think it would be as bad as the Joakim Noah.
No, that's an extreme.
Yeah, but going back to what I was trying to say before I so rudely tried to interrupt you, the difference between Blake Griffin at 28, big guy who's obviously he doesn't look the same way he used to, and Chris Paul, who's an old guy, is a lot of Chris Paul's game is mental.
Yeah.
It's the vision, it's the knowledge, it's anticipation, it's not backing someone down and hitting them in the face, getting hit in the face, etc.
His play's not really derived on athleticism. Yes,
he's a true point guard. He's one of the few true point guards left in the league.
But he can shoot from everywhere. He's a brilliant passer. He, the only thing that'll start to decline would be his defense, because that just does take, I think, more athleticism to maintain an elite level than offense does,
especially in the West.
That position. Yeah, yeah, and you're going to be going against
Steph
guys
Curry,
like Curry, where you have to be, so quick, and even still, you're going to get beat on
Tony Parker, who, even though he's old, is still got it.
Yep. He still has a quick first step. He can beat you if you're not prepared. But you've seen his play go down too because of that athleticism on the defensive end. He's more of a liability on defense than a strength. And
he's been getting injured a lot lately. So I wouldn't be surprised if this were the last season that he plays. I mean,
for Parker, yeah.
I kind of hope he does before he ruins his reputation. So I want to ask you really quickly, if the Cavaliers were to come back to the Knicks and say, you know what, we will give you Kyrie and J.R. Smith and a pick for Porzingis and Noah. We'll do you a favor, and we'll take Joakim Noah. And we'll give you J.R. Smith, Kyrie, and a pick for Noah and KP. Would you do it?
Ooh, my heart says no, because I love KP. But getting rid of that contract and getting the pick would be a pretty nice return. I don't really care about JR. I don't think that does much. And, Kyrie is obviously insanely talented.
Well, so. JR would pretty much be thrown in to make the money work.
Yeah. I think the Knicks would listen to that. They might have a riot on their hands if they accept it, though, because KP is such a fan favorite. Actually,
listening to some of the radio that I listen to from the New York City area, it's probably about 35 to 40% in favor of taking a deal like that, because they're seeing the writing on the wall. Knicks have another bad season, KP wants out. That's what it is. So why not move him before he leaves for nothing?
I would do that trade.
As much as I hate to say it,
it's kind of
I would do that trade. And if Kristaps Porzingis really wants to be a Knick, he'll just come back. Just pick him up as a free agent. So it
kind of hedge your bet,
right? like what the Yankees did, trading away Aroldis Chapman just to get him back. The next season, let him win his World Series, be a rental, and then he'll come back because that's entirely what happened.
That's true.
So this Kyrie trade, I hope it does fall through because I don't want Kyrie Irving on the Celtics. They've got so much talent. It's crazy.
I mean, I thought this was a better pick for Cleveland, a better trade for Cleveland. Getting all that return for a single player, even if he is very good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't put much stock into draft picks because they're potential.
Right. I think that if this trade does get finalized, it's a step to another trade. I think they use it for further win now pieces. I don't think in Cleveland's position you're building for any type of future right now.
They're 100% building for a future. They see the writing on the wall. They are in post LeBron mode.
I disagree. While you have him, you go for the title. This is your last chance in the next decade, probably, to get anywhere near contending.
Well,
while you're dominating the East,
that's what they're doing.
This is when a team should be in 100% win now mode. Is when they're on the cusp. They got beat pretty badly by the Warriors, but they could have been a piece or two away. So now you've gotten a lot more depth, which you obviously needed, and you got that draft pick, which you could dangle out in front of another team that is in rebuilding mode, like the Knicks or like a lot of teams around the league, and you could get that one more piece that makes contending a lot more
honestly
of a simple task.
Honestly, I feel like that trade would have been a best of both worlds. Because Isaiah Thomas is going to give you the same amount of points that Kyrie did. So you're not losing much in terms of points. Excuse me. The big upgrade would be Jay Crowder.
Right.
Who has the skill set to defend, I almost said Kevin Durant. So that's the key right there. Yeah. Jay Crowder to defend against any of the players you want to name on the Warriors.
Yeah.
I think that right there gives them a better chance to beat the Warriors than Kyrie or IT.
Something for the lack of scoring whenever LeBron was off, because
that's what Isaiah Thomas is for. He led an entire team,
right? But they had Kyrie too, and there was still that huge margin of LeBron on the floor versus off the court. It was like -40 per game or something like that.
Here's
so you need someone to make up the scoring,
and I think that's what Isaiah Thomas is. He's a. Let me explain.
How's he gonna be different than Kyrie?
Let me explain.
If you're saying it's a 1-to-1, there's no world where IT is better than Kyrie. Yes, you now have Crowder to help on some of the defense, which might make it a -25 instead of a -40, but you still need someone to chip away at that.
Let me ask you this question. Who was the undisputed, without a doubt, leader of the Boston Celtics? Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah, IT.
Okay, and you would say 100% their success is because of him. They were the number 1 seed in the East. They were ahead of the Cavaliers. Do I think they're better than the Cavaliers? Of course not. Do I think that Isaiah Thomas could be a better leader of the team than Kyrie? Absolutely. I think Kyrie is a better, I don't want to say role player, and I think that he could be the leader of the team, but I don't think he is now. I think Isaiah Thomas is. His mentality is, when I'm the leader, I'm the leader. And he knows that he's
definitely a team first guy.
Yeah,
I agree.
He knows that he's going to be going to LeBron James' team. And this is where the building for the future also comes in. They will have their scorer for when LeBron leaves. The guy who led the Celtics to the number 1 overall seed in the East. And they have a first round pick. So they're in win now and win in the future mode.
I don't think you can have the best of both worlds. I think you really need to pick one or the other. And, I think when you're up against something like the Warriors and you're about to lose your best player, and there goes a lot of the draw